Welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is LaShawn and this is Lush Uncut. All right, y'all, so I'm just going to get right into it. So obviously the biggest topic of today was last night's presidential debate between Trump and Biden. And the bigger topic of the day is what a horrible job Joe Biden did. There were a lot of moments from last night's debate that I think shows that. The biggest one, and the one that I think has went the most viral, has been this one when Joe Biden was asked about Medicare.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
Honestly speaking, Trump was such a gentleman last night because there were so many instances where he could have came for Biden's neck on how he was unable to answer some questions. But just like he did there, he either ignored it or actually pivoted from it. There was one moment where he addressed it, but I think that was really the only time. But so yeah, Biden did not do well last night. It was just a horror show. It was basically like a scary movie watching Joe Biden try to speak last night. So the media has been responding, the mainstream media, the CNN and the MSNBCs, and it appears that they finally see what we have all been looking at for the last 3 years.
Too was on the phone throughout much of the debate with Obama world people, with Democrats, with people who are political operatives, with campaign operatives. My phone really never stopped buzzing throughout. And the universal reaction was somewhere approaching panic. The people who were texting with me were very concerned about President Biden seeming extremely feeble, seeming extremely weak.
And there is a conversation happening inside Biden's circle, and certainly a much more frank conversation happening inside the Democratic coalition. And I think there will be stories of a lot of concern about the performance tonight. And I think
when you say conversations happening, what do you mean?
I think people are talking. I think the conversations range from whether he should be in this race tomorrow morning to what was wrong with him. I mean, he has a cold.
He didn't do well at all. He did not do well at all. And he looked, I'll give you the analysis, kind of have the old man versus the con man. I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to.
All right, so let me just say this. How can I say this in a way that doesn't make me sound too crazy? This is all performance with these folks here on CNN, on MSNBC. The idea that they were unaware of Biden's condition, the idea that this is somehow a surprise to them, the idea that they just didn't know, that they're now noticing this, is just so absurd that you would have to be a complete idiot to believe that these folks weren't aware of Joe Biden's condition. We have all been watching Joe Biden since 2020. He has always struggled with being able to articulate himself well. He struggled with, direction, with walking upstairs, walking downstairs, riding a bike. There have been so many instances of Joe Biden showing that he is clearly in a state of cognitive decline. So the fact that they are now pretending to realize this is just so insulting to viewers. It's insulting to voters, and it's insulting to the American public because, again, these people try to pretend that they're actual objective journalists, that they actually take their jobs and their positions and their responsibilities seriously, and this is the BS that they're going to serve up to their viewers. Just last week, the press secretary was trying to convince us that the video of Joe Biden walking around clearly disorganized was a cheap fake, that it was some type of AI generated video, which was just absolutely ridiculous. And these people all work in tandem with one another. There's this whole conglomerate between the mainstream media, the Biden White House, and so many different institutions that work together to try to, mislead the American public. They don't work in isolation. So the idea that these folks did not know of Joe Biden's condition is completely absurd. So let's just get that out the way, because they're pretending to be surprised and it's irritating me. So that's one thing. The real question is, what is going to happen next? Okay, is Joe Biden going to be on that ballot in November? And in my opinion, he's not going to be. Yes, Joe Biden still has a chance of winning, because for whatever reason, there's still people that say that they're going to vote for him. But if they leave Joe Biden on that ticket, then there's a higher chance of Trump winning. So they're going to want to remove him. The question of how is very simple. They're going to force him to step down, because again, they're not going to give Trump any type of advantage in this election. They have no respect for the rule of law. They have no respect for order. They have no respect for the sensitive state that this country is in terms of the public's trust for our electoral process. They don't care that people are already questioning whether or not our elections are fair and free and without corruption. They don't care about that, because honestly, that's the goal at the end of the day. They want to destroy this country. They want to destroy its institutions. They want to destroy the government. They want to tear it all down so that they can build up their globalist empire from its ashes. Wow. So they're going to put someone else in Joe Biden's place. The question is who? And I think that the obvious choice is Camila Harris. We're going to take a look at an interview that Harris recently had, I think earlier this morning, with Anderson Cooper, talking about Joe Biden's performance.
First of all, what we saw tonight is the president making a very clear contrast with Donald Trump on all of the issues that matter to the American people. Yes, there was a slow start, but it was a strong finish. And what became very clear through the course of the night is that Joe Biden is fighting on behalf of the American people, on substance, on policy, on performance. Joe Biden is extraordinarily strong. And
I'm sorry,
that
on
cannot
substance
be
and
debated.
policy and performance tonight, I mean, the president's performance tonight clearly was disappointing for his supporters. At this moment, obviously, I mean, you can't honestly say, I mean, can you say that you are not concerned at all having watched the president's performance tonight?
It was a slow start. That's obvious to everyone. I'm not going to debate that point. I'm talking about the choice in November. I'm talking about one of the most important elections in our collective lifetime. And do we want to look at what November will bring and go on a course for America that is about a destruction of democracy, electing a man who has said he'll be a dictator on day one? Or do we want to continue on a course that's about strengthening America's economy, building and creating 15 million American jobs, over 800,000 manufacturing jobs? I got that this is the afterplay for the debate, this conversation that I'm in, and I understand why everyone wants to talk about it, but I think it's also to recognize that the choice in November between these two people that were on the debate stage involves extraordinary stakes. And there's one person on that stage who has the endorsement of their vice president, and that's Joe Biden. Mike Pence is nowhere to be found in supporting Donald Trump, and that's why he has to look for someone else to run with him, who, as we know, will embolden and rubber stamp whatever he wants, because they're going to have to make a choice to not be Mike Pence and to put Donald Trump over their country.
Neither person on that stage tonight made the argument as coherently as you just did.
You see what I'm talking about? The two of them are pretending that they're somehow on, two opposite sides of this conversation. They are pretending that they want different things. They're pretending as if they have different views on what happened last night. It's so insulting. The idea that Anderson Cooper and Camila Harris are at odds about Joe Biden is just like, come on, stop trying to make it seem as if we're idiots. And also, that is the most presidential and collected that I have seen Camila Harris ever. She's usually kikiing, saying basically nothing. Like Anderson said, she was actually able to make a coherent point about last night's debate. if I was a Democrat voter and I heard that, I would be like, you know what, she actually makes some sense there. So they're gonna swap out Biden for Camila because Camila is a better puppet than Joe, right? So the establishment, they don't want someone that has an actual agenda. They don't want someone that has actual ideas. They don't want someone that is actually interested in leading. All they need is a figurehead, okay? So someone like Gavin Newsom, as establishment and as slimy as he is, he might one day wake up with an idea that the establishment and the bureaucracy does not like. So they don't need someone that's actually going to wield their power as president. They need someone that is going to stay in line all the way through, someone that's more interested in the title and the position and the illusion of power than the actual responsibility of that office that is the president of the United States of America. So Kamala Harris fits all those boxes. On top of that, she's a minority. On top of that, she's a woman. So she will be the first female president and the first black female president. Like, it's just, she's perfect. And I feel like they're turning around and looking at each other like, why didn't we put Camilla? Like, she can speak, she can comprehend things, we can train her, we could put her through weeks and months of media training to get her to look presidential in front of the American public. Yes, she's one of the most unlikable politicians in the history of this country, but we can spruce her up a little bit. So that is what I see happening. I don't see them going in the direction of Gavin Newsom, and I don't see them allowing Biden on that ballot because it's going to give Trump an advantage. And that is the last thing these people are willing to do. And I think what is the most alarming part about that is that if, let's just say that I'm right and Camilla ends up being the Democrat candidate in November and then she ends up winning, I can only imagine the chaos that would follow, because so many people are going to feel cheated. So many people are going to feel finessed. So many people are going to feel like this country is completely, just like our government it's just not going to go over well with a lot of Americans. And what's crazy about that is that they don't care. And what's even crazier is I feel like that's exactly what they want.